Hey Rose, I've been working on a data migration project and heard about Azure Data Factory's integration runtime. Can you explain what it is?
Absolutely. The integration runtime, IR, in Azure Data Factory is essentially the compute infrastructure used to provide data integration capabilities across different network environments. There are three types: Azure, self-hosted, and Azure-SSIS.
Interesting. Can you give me an example of when you might use each type?
Sure. Let's start with the Azure Integration Runtime. It's used for data movement and transformation in the cloud. For instance, if you're copying data from Azure Blob Storage to an Azure SQL database, you'd use the Azure IR.
Got it. What about the self-hosted integration runtime?
The self-hosted IR is perfect for on-premises data sources or when you need to move data across different network environments. For example, if you have a SQL Server database on-premises and you need to copy data to an Azure SQL database, you'd use the self-hosted IR. It acts as a bridge between your on-premises environment and the cloud.
That makes sense. And the Azure-SSIS integration runtime?
The Azure-SSIS IR is used to lift and shift your existing SQL Server Integration Services, SSIS, packages to the cloud. If you have complex ETL processes already built in SSIS, you can run them in Azure without needing to re-engineer them. This is particularly useful for companies that have invested heavily in SSIS and want to leverage the scalability of the cloud.
That's really helpful. Can you share a real-world scenario where you used the self-hosted IR?
Sure. Recently, we had a client in the retail sector who needed to synchronize their on-premises inventory database with their cloud-based analytics platform. We set up a self-hosted IR on their local server to securely transfer data to Azure SQL database. This allowed them to perform real-time analytics on their inventory data without compromising security.
Wow, that's a great use case. How about the Azure-SSIS IR? Any real-world examples?
Yes, another client in the healthcare industry had numerous SSIS packages for data cleansing and transformation. They wanted to move their data processing to the cloud to improve performance and scalability. We used the Azure-SSIS IR to migrate their SSIS packages to Azure Data Factory. This enabled them to run their ETL processes in the cloud with minimal changes to their existing workflows.
Thanks, Rose. This really clarifies how the integration runtime works in different scenarios. I think I have a much better understanding now.
Glad to hear that, Jack. If you have any more questions or need help with your project, feel free to ask.